It seems as though in recent years there's been a large conversation surrounding the overall PlayStation business and if it could be heading in a negative direction based on things like their current corporate strategies or their current corporate leadership. And that's what we're going to do here is really dive into this topic and summarize everything that has changed up to this point because within the last 5-6 years, there has been a lot that's been going on, so it's hard to keep up with. But we'll summarize everything and really ask ourselves, is Sony changing for the worse? Are they going in a negative direction? And more importantly, what will all this look like in the future? So I think probably the most appropriate place to start here is April 2016. So about 5 years ago, this is when Sony Computer Entertainment and Sony Network Entertainment were restructured into Sony Interactive Entertainment. That's what we know today. This is when their global headquarters and operations were moved to San Mateo, California. This was also the start of Sony's globalization efforts, so it really kicked off in April 2018, to be fair. That was a second organizational transformation. Prior to SIE, there was Sony Computer Entertainment America, Europe, and Japan, each of which would run independently to handle separate marketing campaigns for upcoming software, or product planners having to cross-reference with each other for each division. A major company restructure like this, it's usually a costly endeavor, so at the time where PS4 is already doing so well, you'd think, why are they really making changes here? But it was clear that at the time, Sony wanted to spend less time executing their strategies in antiquated ways. So this is largely what Sony has been doing since that initial 2016 restructure, and now this 2018 organizational shift, where they've been very vocal about this, making a global effort and really taking PlayStation on a global scale in one calculated effort for most of their marketing campaigns and certainly the product planning of something like PlayStation 5. Then there's just all the leadership roles that we've seen change at Sony within the last 5 years. So Kaz Hirai was replaced as president and CEO of Sony Corporation by Kenichiro Yoshida. Initially, Shawn Layden was president and CEO of SCEA. The 2018 change saw him move to chairman of Worldwide Studios. February 2019, Jim Ryan is appointed as the new president and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, taking over from John Cadera, who only had that role for a little over a year, about 15 months, something like that. John basically went back to his previous role, which that was overseeing network operations. Then, come late September 2019, Shawn Layden and Atsushi Morita left the company. Now, Atsushi Morita oversaw Japan operations. He simply retired due to old age. Shawn Layden, however, left in a slightly weird fashion. It was confirmed via a tweet from the official PlayStation Twitter account, rather than some sort of official press release, and to this day we still don't know exactly what happened there. There's a few articles online and people citing some sort of internal power struggle. To be fair, I'm not going to really humor that here because we just don't really know anything for certain. There's nothing concrete out there. We do know, however, that Shawn is currently on sabbatical, so take that for what it is. I'm sure something probably happened behind the scenes, but we don't have that story today. Now, by November, Guerrilla Games co-founder Herman Hulst was now named the head of Worldwide Studios, and Shuhei Yoshida would begin a new role where he's working directly with indies. So he's fostering that talent and working directly with those external developers, but basically he's the new head of indies at PlayStation. Now, in terms of the overall management of Worldwide Studios, the most recent acquisition was Insomniac Games in 2019, and the most recent closure, you could argue, is Japan Studio, but it didn't close down. It was just restricted in a way that saw a lot of employees not have their contracts renewed. Basically, they're going all in on just Team Asobi, and all other departments like external development or development of in-house existing IP, that would now be delegated to all the SIE global operations. Prior to all this, however, even before 2016, but a little bit after, Sony trimmed a lot of fat by closing Big Studios, Studio Liverpool, Zipper Interactive, Evolution Studios, Guerrilla Cambridge, and even Manchester Studio. That last one, of course, Manchester, was a purpose-built VR studio. They were formed around 2015, and we never actually saw a single game out of them. They were closed in 2020, so technically speaking, that would be our most recent closure. We do also have a secret team that was formed in San Diego. They were purpose-built in 2018, and they're still toiling away on some project. We've talked about this on a few occasions now at this point. You're probably all familiar with them. We also have a new studio in Malaysia that was formed in 2020. I think actually they were starting to form that studio in 2019, but they're a support team, so they're just supporting the rest of Worldwide Studios. We're probably not going to see an original game out of them, at least not in the short term. Throughout these last 5 years, though, a few key company goals that have been outlined on a number of occasions is organic growth and acquisitions. They've said this plenty of times. It always comes up, and then it turns into a news story that gets thrown around, but Sony is always evaluating this. It's nothing new. Indies also still play an important role. Initially, there was some concern here, but with Shuhei heading this department, it seems like there's a strong commitment there still. Also, a next-generation VR headset is confirmed. It's on the way. VR is still going to play a big role for Sony's future. And on the heels of the Japan studio announcement, Jim Ryan has stated a number of times that they're still in support of Japanese developers and that market. Of course, that's questionable, but it might be more a matter of working closely with third-party developers, big and small. We also recently got confirmation that more PC ports are on the way based on the trial program of releasing Horizon Zero Dawn. And then, of course, there's also the globalization effort that we pretty much went over a few minutes ago. So now that we're pretty much caught up, for the most part, can we really say that Sony's going in a negative direction with the PlayStation business, that foundation that we just laid out? Well, we kind of can't say that, considering that, well, last week's PS Plus video, or a few weeks ago on LTPS when we covered their fiscal report, but it was their best quarter and their best fiscal year. I mean, it was record profits and revenue left and right. PS5 demand is at an absolute high. They're selling as many as they can make, and during a global semiconductor shortage, they're making a little bit more versus PS4. Their first-party games are dominating any sort of award ceremony that they're a part of. So, not to say that, opinions or frustrations are wrong or invalid, but regardless of those things, we can't really argue that they're doing really well right now. But I guess certain points that we can pluck out here from those last 5 years and even a little bit prior is that, well, one, restructures need to happen with any organization, with any major business. The market is always shifting around them, and you want a company that can be a little bit lean and understand what they need to do to keep up with market trends, and certainly to keep up with the efficiency of releasing their products. And so with PS5, that's kind of what they were doing here. Of course, we saw a lot of changes and shifting with PS5, and sometimes that's just necessary. But also, every person that we've named here so far in relation to the leadership roles at Sony, they've all been with the company for a very long time. We're talking decades at this point, so whether you like or dislike somebody. So again, Jim Ryan, of course, it seems like lately a lot of people dislike him, but he was there since 1994. He's overseen major PlayStation product launches. He's one of the main reasons why PlayStation has a brand dominance in Europe, and it does so well over there, because that's the market that he oversaw for a very long time. So, you kind of want somebody that knows that business very well and that has been there overseeing all those launches for the history of this company. Also, a lot of the things prior to 2016, because that was kind of our starting point, right? The headquarters being moved over to California, and the westernization of Sony, as a lot of people like to call it. A lot of that was happening prior to 2016. So Mark Cerny leading the hardware program for PS4, that was a huge deal, and that was going as back as 2008 actually, when he researched x86 and then approached Sony asking if he could be the lead architect. That was a big deal, an American leading the hardware program at Sony, largely a Japanese company. Also, Howard Stringer, he's Welsh. He became Sony Corporation CEO in 2009, I believe. So Sony, which, yeah, they're a Japanese company, but they were very open with this stuff for a long time, and allowing, non-Japanese people to have these very large leadership roles. And probably another point to consider here is that a lot of what makes PlayStation so great as a platform holder that releases really good software is that these elements have not really gone anywhere. So things like XDev, the ICE team, Worldwide Studios, of course, doubling down on VR, the indie dev support. You could argue that these things are actually getting better and better over time, but it is important to note that this isn't really a conversation defending Sony in any way. I would hope that that's not really what we do here. I have many complaints with this company. It's just my complaints never really seem to match up with what most others are usually yelling about, but for me it's always, things like not having, complacency with your position. So Sony does have market leadership with PS4, and more than likely they're going to have that with PS5, and I don't want them to have that complacency where they think they can take advantage of the consumer and do whatever they want. I've always said it's kind of embarrassing how PS Now, the subscription numbers are so low compared to Game Pass, and I've always been the first to say you can't really compare the two, because Sony's even admitted they're not going to do day-and-date releases. Microsoft's getting very aggressive in that area, and with their Bethesda acquisition and those releases being day-and-date, they're only going to get more and more subscribers on there. And PS Now is actually a very compelling service, even if you don't stream the games. There's 350 plus PS4 and a small amount of PS2 games on there that are completely downloadable. Why are they not pushing that more? Why are they not allowing a PS Now membership to have full online play? That way people can choose between Plus or Now, and I think Now is a better value proposition, so people can probably jump over to that. I mean, I just don't get why it's sitting there and they're not doing anything with it. And then there's the acquisitions. I mean, now, Sony is very slow in this area, admittedly, and they do not have the capital like Microsoft has to, talk to everybody left and right and just, buy whoever they want, and Sony doesn't really do that anyway. But acquisitions inherently are a slow, lengthy, and costly process. So combine that with how Sony's been handling this, and it's just a little bit too slow. I mean, there's still a handful of, usual suspects that Sony's worked with in terms of contract work where it's a natural fit, and I don't know why they're not having these conversations or making a deal go through here. So I'd like to see some more movement there. There's still a ton of issues that Sony has. Every business has a lot of issues, but I think right now at least it's a tough sell to try and say that PlayStation's going in a negative direction. Certainly they've shifted with the market, I think, appropriately, and with that comes abandoning things that we used to really enjoy about PlayStation 1, 2, and now even 3, where 3 is starting to be considered a legacy platform, right? I mean, I know it's crazy to think about, but that's where we are right now. There's shifts and changes in the market, and if you've been there for a long time, it can start to rub you the wrong way, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Although it should go without saying, you don't need PlayStation to be happy with playing games. Games first, platform second. Whether it's PlayStation or not, you still have, I think this is one of the best times to be in this hobby. There's just so much available right now, and you can't really go wrong either way. Now, having said all that, I think we'll end the conversation there, so thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet, please subscribe for the best PlayStation news, reviews, and updates that are here on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at Mystic Ryan, and that is it. I will see you all in my next video. You take it easy.